All right. So I want to thank you, Mr. Carey Muhammad, and I want you to introduce yourself to my students and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Brother Carey Muhammad. I'm a stepping instructor located in the south suburbs of Dalton, Illinois. I've been stepping for about a little over 30 years, but I want to say I've been stepping properly for 13 years.
I just want you to inform us from your perspective of the Chicago stepping culture. So if we didn't know anything about Chicago stepping, enlighten us, please, from your
All right.
perspective.
Well, Chicago stepping as it is today, right? There's styles of stepping. You got new school, you got old school, you got original, right? New school, there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of excitement. Old school is a lot more, it's all stepping, but old school is a lot more footwork, in my opinion. A lot more footwork involved. There are turns, they're mostly down turns, and it's a lot of the men turning themselves along with the woman. Um, there used to be a category in the world's largest called freestyle, and that's what they call the get down today. But it was more where the men were doing that dance together. And all of those forms still exist today. You still see them out on the set when you go out. You usually see people doing the get down in Chicago a little later in the evening, maybe around at Visions, maybe about 10:30, close to 11 o'clock is when you'll start seeing the brothers and the sisters getting around in a circle and watching the brothers and the sisters doing the get down or the freestyle or it's basically James Brown movements. Um, so when you go out on the scene in Chicago, you can go out every night in Chicago, basically. You got something happening Sundays. You got something happening. I go to a set. I go to Tina's set on Sundays at the entrance. Then you got Monday night. You got Dre's class, and after Andre Blackwell's class, he opens it up. Then on Tuesdays, you have set on 35th Street. Then on Wednesday, you got Visions. Then on Thursday, you got Noble. Then Friday, there's some club set. Then on Saturdays, there's some type of club set going on. So in Chicago, you could go out every night of the week if that's what you chose to do.
Mm.
And that's what you can expect when you come to Chicago is to be out.
Mm. How were you introduced to Chicago stepping?
I was introduced to it by going skating to this skating rink here in the south suburbs called Markham. And Markham had a disco room towards the back, and they would put on songs that they do freestyle or they do that the get down on today, but they were doing it back then when I was growing up in the coming into it in the late 70s, early 80s. They would put on James Brown, they would put on Pathway to Glory by Loggins and Messina. They would put on Dragon Attack by Queen. They would put on Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. And a crowd would form, and these guys would get out there and start stepping together. And there was a certain mannerism that they had. Some of those guys back then had finger waves. I'm talking about long finger waves. Some of them down their back, some of them tight to the scalp. But they had finger waves. They would dress sharp, and they would certain kind of men. I'll just leave it at that because I don't know what their affiliations were, but
Mm.
they wasn't soft guys that were
Mm.
doing this. And when I saw it as a young boy, it looked like a war dance to me. So I was attracted to it. So where I'm from, which is a little small town in the south suburbs called Robbins, there were some guys who could do that dance, who could freestyle there that I looked up to. And we started learning, me and some of my friends started learning how to do that from them. Short, that was my introduction to stepping and how I caught that bug back then.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you started, now in the beginning, you learned from the community, or did you go to a class?
Now that's a great question. Back then there were no classes. This is the
Mm.
this is the late 70s. I turned 10 years old in 77. And so this is when I'm
Mm,
starting to go skating and see this. Into the 80s, when I started going into high school, there were no classes. You
mm,
you learn how to do that get down and how to smooth it out by being around your friends. You went out there and did trial and error. You did it with
mm,
your boys down in the basement, or we did it out on the street together, or somewhere we can find a slippery floor because we wore dress shoes back then. So it was
mm,
easier for us to move on the floor. So wherever we could find the floor is where we would practice. And so there were no classes. And this is a story that I have about the first time I found out about classes. I
mm,
had stopped going skating so I wasn't stepping anymore or doing what I considered stepping back then anymore. So as a once I got into my 30s, I lived in an apartment building and there was a club right next door to it here in the south suburbs in Calumet City. And one day, it wasn't late, but it was around 6 or 7 o'clock. I walked out my door and I could hear the club music playing. I could hear stepping music, but not that get down kind of stepping music. It was smooth stepping music that I liked. So I went to the club and I saw all these women in there. There was no men in there, and I thought they were there for me. I was like, okay, I done hit it tonight. So I walked in there, they were stepping, and I walked up to them and started trying to do what I thought was stepping, from what I remembered. And a brother said, pardon me, he said, we're having a class. I'm like, a class? So I had to respect him. And that was Maurice Turner. It was his class
mm,
in on not knowing. So back then, men and women learned from each other. There were no
mm.
classes that I knew of in the late 70s, early 80s, until this was in the 90s when that happened to me when I walked in on brother's class. So I hope that answers that question.
Oh, now that transition you made when you first walked in that class, from your perspective, did you have the fundamentals?
That's a good question. I thought I did. So I was going out, right? So me and some of my friends from where I was from out in Robbins, we would go out together and we would go to the east of the Rhine, and we would go to spots on the west side. We would go to the Rose, Brothers Palace, places like that.
Mm,
And the ladies would dance with me. So I thought I was doing something. I thought I had the fundamentals because I had rhythm from skating and dancing and doing all the regular dances. So I had rhythm and I still had something from when we used to do the get down, but I didn't realize that in answer to your question, no, I did not have the fundamentals, but I thought I
mm,
did for a very long time. Because when I
mm,
would go out, I would ask women would come and ask me to dance. So I figured I must have had something. So no, I did not have the fundamentals, but I thought I did.
mm. Now, define from your perspective what are the fundamentals.
The fundamentals are the footwork patterns. The fundamentals are the first knowing how to follow, knowing that follow side. I'll just call them sides versus calling it the roles of
Mm,
follow and lead. But that left crossover to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I didn't have that. I did not have what my teacher showed me was that stroll. And I did not have that right crossover lead basic footwork pattern.
mm,
I had something that I could not repeat again. You know what I mean?
mm,
So I was freestyling. That's
mm,
what I was freestyling. I was soloing every
mm,
chance that I got. So I did not have those fundamentals. And I saw men doing something when I was coming out, and I knew they had something that put them where I was not.
mm,
But I just didn't recognize what they were doing, which were those fundamentals
mm,
of that follow side, basic footwork pattern, that lead, right cross, and that stroll. They did not. They had that, and I didn't recognize what that was. And I hope I'm not preempting your next question, but I will tell you when I saw the light of that pattern, those patterns. So my wife was friends with a sister. She's a cold stepper named Sharita Newborn. I hope I'm saying her last name right. Sharita was cold, but we were just hanging. Well, she came over to our home one night and she brought her friend with her, and her friend happened to be Carlos Fortune. So this is my, I knew Sharita because, she and my wife were friends, and she brought Carlos over. And at this time, I wasn't interested in going out. So Carlos was going to talk to me about what he was interested in. So he telling me about stepping. I'm like, I know a little bit about it. And he started explaining to me about those fundamentals, right? And that there's a count to it. And I was disinterested. I was like, man, it can't be that hard. Then he knew, by coming to my home, he knew I'm an artist. So he tried to show me in a way that I would understand by drawing out shapes on paper. I'm like, it can't be that difficult where you got to make schematics for this. So we had a nice sized living room. So he and Sharita, they, asked if they could turn on some music and show us some stuff. And he showed it to us. And I was impressed because I knew he knew what he was doing, but I didn't want to do it like that. Because he was doing some intricate stuff. And if you know Carlos he's really a genius. He loves complexity, I'll say. So long story short, he was like, well, y'all want to go out with us? So we went out to the 50-yard line with them. And they got out on the floor, and they was really doing their thing at the 50, right? So there was hardly anybody there. And this brother came and got Sharita after Carlos got finished with her. And he took her out on the floor, brother, and I saw what I could understand. I understood that this man can do this. Whatever he just did, he can do that he can wake up out of his sleep and do that. It's something to that. And when I see men and women who do things at a level that I like, I let them know. So after he got finished with, I went to him and said, man, you cold. Thanks, brother. Thanks. And that brother was Donnie Davis. So the way I eventually got into his class, but this happened much later after that. Donnie and I we're both Muslims, so we were going to the same mosque but didn't know it. And this is the headquarters mosque of the Nation of Islam in Chicago, Mosque Mariam. So in Mosque Mariam, there's a huge screen up in the front, and they will pan the camera to the audience and show people in the audience, right? So after the meeting, my wife and I went to a restaurant, and Donnie came up and he was telling my wife, he's like, yeah, I saw you on the screen today. And we greeted each other, and he gave us his card. And I took the card and put it on my desk in my office. And that card sat on my desk for a year. And one day my wife came up and got it, and she and some of the sisters went to his class. And they went one time, then they went again, then they went again. And I had to go after that, just follow up and find out what's going on. So I go to the class, and I'm challenged now because I'm seeing something that I like, but I don't know how to do it. I was challenged, at my ego and all my manhood on challenge mode. Because I want this, so I got to humble myself and let them know. So that's how I began to learn the things that I thought I knew. I mean, it was more than I thought I knew. I mean, I learned so much in that class, but that's where I started learning those fundamentals. I started learning that that count, which the count is not the thing, but the numbers represent something. The numbers represent
Mm.
one of your feet. You know what I mean? So, and when he showed me that stroll, I was like, I can do that. But it took me a while to even get that because I have the video of the first time he came to my home
Mm.
and how out of order I was. I still got that. That's what keeps me humble. I can always go back to that and look at that and be like, yeah, I did come a long way. I know I
Hmm.
came a long way. So in that class is where I started learning the fundamentals like Donnie teaches them. I don't know how anyone else, because I haven't been in anyone else's class, because I
Mm-mm.
was taught that when you have a teacher, you stick to your teacher.
Mm.
You know, you don't move around to this one and that one, because my teacher, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, told us, he said that a baby shouldn't nurse from the breast of two mothers
Mm.
because he's liable to throw up the milk from both and starve to death. So
Ooh.
being taught like that, I
Hold up,
mean,
brother. Hold
yes,
up, brother. Say it again. Cause you
he
know.
taught us that a baby should not nurse from the breast of two mothers. He's liable to throw up the milk from both and starve to death. So
Whew.
that's about going from teacher to teacher to teacher to teacher. So I latched on to Donnie to the point where now Donnie in his class, it's like going to a buffet. You go serve yourself because it's everything you want is in there.
It's in there.
Ed was in there every week. Doc was in there every week. Um, Vicky Hennon was in there every week. Gigi was in there every week. Jeannie Bradley was in there here and there. I'm talking about some of the coldest that Chicago has to offer were in
Mm.
his class giving it away.
Mm.
Right. So before I would even, go and avail myself to what they had to offer, and I knew they had a lot to offer, I had to get what I saw when I saw him at the 50 that night. I had to get that. So, I mean, I latched on to him, brother. And we became more than like a student teacher kind of thing. We became brothers because
Mm.
he started coming to my home. We started going to work out together. We would go to the mosque together. We would go out together. He would come over here and eat. I'd go over to his place. But all the while, I'm trying to find out not just how do you do this thing. Now I started getting into why do you do that, Donnie?
Mm. The why.
That why you do it like that? So yeah, that's that. I know that was a long answer to it.
Ooh. That was on fire, bro. That was on point. Now, talk to me about the difference between the foundation of Chicago Stepping and the fundamentals. How do you
Now
make that differentiation?
I can't I can't. I'm gonna say I can't, and that's just what I'm not able to do. It's the
Mm.
same to me. It's the same thing.
Mm.
Fundamentals is foundation. You got to have something to stand on. What is our dance standing on? So it has
Mm.
to be those fundamentals that not just the footwork patterns, but the turns are
Mm.
part of the foundation, part of the fundamentals. The start is a part of the foundation and the fundamental. I mean, just starting from right here, when you get
Mm.
her and she got you and you start right here, that's a big part of the foundation and fundamentals. It's the same thing to me. So the
Mm.
turns, the left turn, right turn, double left, double right, uh, roll in, roll, those things are foundational and fundamental. Then you can start, a person can start, male or female, start advancing and dropping steps and stealing beats and stuff like that. But to me, the foundation and the fundamentals are the same thing. Someone else may be able to take that and give it their insight, maybe go deeper, but that to me is the same thing.
Mm. Talk to me about the music of Chicago Stepping and how important is it
Oh my
to the
goodness.
dance?
The music, like when you and I first got on this call, you were playing Jeffrey. and it wasn't Love's Gonna Last. You know what I mean? There's certain music that gets me because, and I gotta say it like this: the music is very important because that's what we're dancing to. If there's no music, we're not dancing. There's a there's a there's a certain sound that we're used to here in Chicago. It's vast. You know what I mean? You got that freestyle sound because when that come on, everybody know what kind of stepping we doing to that. Then you got the smooth steppers. Then you got the new school steppers, and each one has a sound or a tempo that they're gonna do that to and kill it, right? So the music is important. It's everything. Without the music, there's no dance. So I have my preferences for music. I like old school music. I like newer school music that sounds like old school music. I'm biased and I have my preference, but it's all important. Um, but I believe that everybody likes the kind of music that they discovered stepping on.
Mm-hmm.
Discovered stepping in the 2000s. There was a certain kind of music being played then, and that's what that person is going to be inclined to. If you started in the 2020s, you know what I mean? Whatever music was playing at that time will be the music of your stepping journey, where you're gonna, that's what you're gonna be inclined to. So music is all important.
Now, for for a be- for a participant that just got on the journey,
Hmm.
and they run into some difficulties, share with us some of the difficulties you had, and how would you encourage someone to stay on the journey?
Okay. Some of the difficulties I had were personalities, right, in the class who wanted to help me, right? And I may not have appreciated their approach because my ego was still
Mm,
involved, wrapped
mm,
up in, it was, I felt challenged
mm,
versus accepting the help that they may have been trying to offer. And critique and criticism, you know what I mean? Someone critiquing and me being sensitive, maybe, you know what I mean? Or just offended posed a difficulty factor. Am I going to keep coming? Because this person is going to be here. You know what I mean? They're going to be there. They were there before I got there. So they're going to be here. Am I going to come back? So I had to overcome, being critiqued or criticized by somebody. Then not just, and these were males, and then women offering a critique or a criticism, and not just some everyday. I'm talking about some nice looking sister critiquing or criticizing me in a way that's saying I need to improve. Now my ego may be, you know what I mean? So
mm-hmm,
not crushed,
mm-hmm.
but hurt or bruised. So now I got to get past that. Um, the time factor of how long it's going to take to get it, that depends on the individual. So I have
Mm.
to stick, and stay in that class. And just to talk about sticking and staying in the class, Donnie had a class on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays.
Mm.
We did not miss a class. I'm talking about for 3 years. Once we got there in 2013, that's when my wife and I got there in
Mm.
2013. January the 1st, that week is when we got there.
Mm.
But Donnie was, long story short, I'm gonna get off of that. So when I got there, we were there 3 days a week for 3.5 years. Then that Saturday, pardon me, the Monday and Wednesday class were gone. Then we were just doing the Saturday classes for a very long time. So I'm just
Mm.
talking about how long are you going to stick in there until, not that you see some results, but just because this thing don't stop.
Yeah.
It don't stop. But how long, the difficulty factor in emotion, your emotion in the class, my emotion in the class, critique and criticism, and time of wanting to be a certain place, seeing all them slick and fancy moves and wanting to be able to do them, but knowing there's a time factor in getting to that point.
Mm.
I would say to any new stepper, you just gotta if you want this, you just got to, trust the process, trust your instructor, stick to the class, stick to the format that they're offering, so you can see those results.
Now, oh yeah, you did, big brother. I appreciate that. Now, I want you to talk to us about your style of dance and your dance.
Okay. My style of dance is stepping. All right. Now, do I have a name for it? Yeah, because I saw some guys when I was coming up. This was in the '90s. So in the '90s, you got to think back. All of the guys that, you know, Tip Man was a younger Tip Man. So you think he can kill it you know, before you should have seen him back then. It, Donnie was a younger Donnie. So long story short, my style is based on what Donnie showed me, right? And Donnie was a part of a group called the High Steppers. And the High Steppers was a group of brothers who attracted, a crowd to their sets. And they all had a particular way of doing this dance. And it just, because the group was called High Steppers, it just caught on that this is high stepping. And after a little bit of being in Donnie's class, I said, Brother Donnie, who do you think was the coldest or is the coldest? And he gave me a name. And I wasn't shocked because Donnie's a humble brother. He didn't say me. He gave me a name, and he said Ice Ray. He said when he was in his prime, Ice Ray. So one day I went out and I happened to be in the place with the brother, and I didn't see it. I didn't understand what Donnie was talking about. I was like, well, I like what you do better. But anyway, talking about my style comes from that. But one day I went out after maybe about 4 or 5 years of being in Donnie's class, and I saw Ice Ray again. And we were at the East of the Rhine, and I saw the light, and I had to come back and tell Donnie, hey, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. So Donnie is a high stepper. Ice Ray would probably just say he's a stepper, but that's that style that he does, that Carlos does. Carlos is a high stepper too. When I was in Donnie's class, and I, got to keep bringing this up because this is where my root is. One day in Donnie's class, he introduced me to a brother, and he said, "This is Bill." I'm like, all right. So we greeted each other because he introduced me to him. And Bill said this to me. He said, I know what you want. I'm going to give it to you. And Bill is a high stepper. So he started showing me. Now, Donnie put me on high stepping, right? But Bill kind of finished me. He gave me more of what Ice Ray was known for. Right. So he started giving me that, and he started teaching me. He started advancing me. And that's what gave me what you could call my style, because that's my root is what Donnie showed me, that stroll. That stroll is that basis for Donnie's high stepping, right? And then Bill started showing me how to do basically what we call it's really taking a solo. What you gonna do when you let her go? What you gonna do when you let her go? You gotta let her go at some point. You can't just keep spinning her. That's what he's telling me. You gotta let her go at some point. And when you let her go, you gotta dance. And he started showing me patterns. And because I was already attracted to that style, it was easy for me to accept his help and start incorporating that. And every time Bill would show me something and Donnie would show me stuff, I would take it out on a Friday night the next week and take it to the East of the Rhine and try it out. And it worked. So
That's what's
that's the style of stepping that I do, that I really like, and I enjoy seeing it being done, and that's easy for me to do
mm,
outside of any other style of stepping that high. Matter of fact, I don't know if you saw Pete Frazier put up a video for Black History Month on his
mm-hmm.
page.
Okay.
I used to watch that video, and we're still talking about my style,
Mm-hmm.
but I used to watch that video at work. Now I'm at work, and I would be watching that video, playing it over for hours, watching him do his thing. But that was high stepping. That's high stepping, because he danced with his wife, and at some point he break away and he do his thing. But the
Mm-mm.
things that he's doing have names to them.
Mm.
There's names for that stuff, right? So that is my style. Without
Mm.
to repeat myself over and over, that's my style. That's what I like to do, is high stepping.
Nice. Now, make the connection. Um, well, let's talk about the growth. Did it full circle? Because you said you came in the game and you was already as a youth learning from the community that was your immediate community.
Right.
Then you came across the first class.
Yes.
Then you came across the high steppers. Now,
Hmm.
how far from you in the beginning when you was being taught by the community to when you got to the high steppers? Is there a connection there, or were they light years apart from each other?
There's a connection. There's a connection. The connection is in the footwork. The footwork of what I was learning when I was shorty was, just that fast shuffle. It was really like the Ali shuffle and some James
Mm,
moves.
mm-mm,
High stepping is um, similar in that it's slowed down. It's articulated. You can see it. The get down used to be fast. To me, it was lightning speed. The footwork it was blazing. High stepping is the same kind of footwork. It's just slowed down and articulated. You can really see this. It's just
mm,
out.
mm.
There is a connection, and that's how I learn not just how to step, but how I learn anything. I got to see how this relates to something that I already know,
You made a
because
point.
that's if it's not related to anything I know, then I'm not it's going to be difficult for me.
Say
But if
say that again. Say
if
that
it's not
part again.
related to anything that I already know, it's going to be very difficult for me, and I might just not be interested in it. But if I can
Mm,
relate it to something that I already know, then I can see the connection. Then I can make the leap. It's like a bridge.
mm,
It's from here to there. So because stepping was stepping, you got to hold hands to do it. You got to do some fancy footwork back then. To now that it's mostly done male to female, and you got to smooth this thing out. But you do get a chance to style these moves the same way you did when you were freestyling. Freestyling was basically a show.
mm,
But on a show, who's doing this the best? Now for me as a high step, I'm still putting on like a little show here and there. It's not a total show, but at some point I am showing off some pattern that I'm doing. Not in an arrogant way, but just,
mm,
I'm doing this. I'm out here too. You know what I mean?
mm,
So there's a connection. And that was the connection. And it's still about community, because I had friends who were teaching me back then. And now I call them my brothers, Bill, Donnie, Carlos, um, Slick Rick here in Chicago, um, Ken Hilliard. These are all the men who showed me high step and like took me to
mm,
the side and said, "Dude, try this out. Do this. Do it like this." Those are my brothers. So that's community.
Nice. Now let's just look at it from body part perspective.
Yes, sir.
Um, when you first embrace hand to hand with your dance partner, talk to me about what your hands are doing throughout that song, throughout that dance.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so on the start, when I'm dancing, I'm looking for something. This is telling me what kind of dance I'm about to get. If I don't know the woman, right? So what I'm doing is on the start, I'm just giving a little push to see if I'm gonna get something back. If it's nothing, if it's like hitting the brakes and you're not it's going to the floor. I know I got to take it real easy on this dance because I'm not getting any connection. You know, throughout the dance, I've used these. I call them guns. My hand is usually like this, like a bird perch. I'm giving her something to hold, put her hands on, and rest her hands on. So that's usually the way that my hands are throughout the dance. It's like this in a turn. I don't know if you can see that, like that
Yeah,
in a
I can
turn,
see that.
and back over like this. So throughout the dance, I'm looking for that connection. I'm looking for how is she holding my hand because I'm not gonna grip her hand because I can't turn you like that. I can't turn her like.
Hmm.
So my hand is usually looking for a response. It's call and response. I'm giving a slight pull towards me to get her to come up, and I'm giving a slight push, but I'm not pushing by pushing her, gripping her hand.
Yeah.
I'm pushing like this. I don't know if you can
Hmm.
see that, like that
Definitely.
on the inside of her palm.
Yes, sir.
So that's what I'm looking for is that a connection with my hand and her hand on the floor. Nothing intimate, just response. How responsive is she going to be in this dance to the signals that I'm giving her with my hand? Because I'm not gonna. When I was first starting out, I'm very heavy-handed. Just in anything that I do, my hands are
Hmm.
just small like that. Not to toot my own horn, but that's just the way it is. So when I was starting out, and I tell the brothers this, who come to me for private lessons, and when I was doing classes, I would tell them, as we're learning, we're either going to do something too hard or too soft till we find that middle ground. So to answer your question, my hands are busy searching for information from her. How she
Hmm.
going to take this? Is she taking it right? And if she gives me the right responses, then I can turn it up. But if I don't get what I'm looking for, then I keep my dance basic. It's
Mm.
real basic.
Okay, okay. Now, how I know you kind of tapped in on it. So, how would you describe dancing with a more experienced dancer?
Okay.
Explain that part to me.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna give it to you from when I first came in, right? Dancing with a more experienced dancer, I was intimidated to dance with certain sisters because I knew they were capable of much more than what I could give them. And one day, I think it was Vicky. I was out, and no, we were in the class, and we were just talking about me not dancing with her when I saw her out.
Mm.
And I told her, I said, I know that you can do so much more. And, I, I didn't feel like I can give you a good dance. And she said, sometimes we just want a dance, just a regular dance. And that helped me to say, okay, maybe they don't want all of that, those twists and turns, even though they can do them. Maybe they just want to have fun while they out there, have a conversation. So when I first came in, it was intimidating to dance with certain women because I knew that they were capable of so much more. As I started finding my way and finding myself, I became more comfortable asking certain women to dance who I knew could really dance. And I got a story I'll probably tell you this another time about when me and Lady Margaret were at the East of the Rhine one night. and I was learning how to do a carousel, but it's not a carousel going to your right. This is a going straight. This is all left.
Mm.
And it didn't go well. But and it took me a while out of embarrassment to ask her to dance again. By a while, I mean some years. And one day she was at Donnie's class and she said, she's like, what happened? She like, we used to talk to each other. She said, you don't ask me to dance no more. I told her I was embarrassed because of what happened. Like, oh, it ain't nothing. So as I started finding myself, my way out on the set, and finding my way in the things that I was learning in the classes and learning what to do when I'm out. Because a lot of times what we learn in class, you may not be able to do because some of those women who are out may not have taken a class. So they can just do some basic footwork and a basic turn, but when it comes to doing certain combinations, just don't do that. So yeah, I just had to find my confidence and get my confidence together. And my confidence came from staying in that class and learning how to do things properly according to my instructor standards. And that boosted my confidence based on what I know. And they say you fear what you don't know. You fear the unknown. So when I didn't know anything, I was timid to ask these women to dance. As I started learning more and more and more, my confidence grew, and that let me walk up to anybody, any woman, and say, "Would you like to dance?" And just have a good dance and move on to the next one.
How important it is for someone trying to learn this dance to come to Chicago?
All right, it's very important. They call this the Mecca, right? And Mecca is a real place on the planet. I'm a Muslim, so every Muslim is required to visit Mecca at least once in their lifetime. It's a requirement. So because Chicago is called the Mecca, there's something here that's not anywhere else. There's a vibe here that is not anywhere else. You're not going to find it anywhere else. The music that you may hear here in Chicago, you may not hear it anywhere else. But the way that the dance is being done here in Chicago, the rhythm, there's a rhythm that people from Chicago and Detroit is close to Chicago, so we pretty much like this. Kindred in spirit as far as the dance goes. But you're not gonna a person would have to come here. Like I said when I saw Donnie, I said I saw the light. When I saw Ice Spray, I was like, I saw it. I saw the light. I know what you're talking about. When you come here and you absorb the atmosphere, not just of the club life, but you really touch down in Chicago and you move around and you start hearing how the people talk, right? Because Chicago is it's the city in the middle of a cornfield. It's country cool and city slick. We still say y'all, and you know what I mean? We move a certain kind of way. We move like we in a hurry, but we so cool the way we hurry. You go to New York, everybody in a hurry, and you know it, right? But in Chicago, we in a hurry, but we cool about our hurry. And that's just, I don't know what it is, but it's just the way Chicago is. So that plays out in how Steppin came about, because the attitude and the mentality of the people who live here. When I mentioned how I came up on Steppin when I was very young, and I said the kind of guys that was doing this dance, they wasn't no soft guys. They had a street affiliations, street organization affiliations. So there's a certain when you see these people, especially the ones that do that freestyle or that get down, when they do that get down, they mean every piece of that movement.
Mm.
So that there's a mentality, they telling a story of where they came from when they do that dance. When they do it, when they do that style, that freestyle or that get down, you it's very important to come here because
Mm.
you'll understand why a person moves like that. Not just learning how to do that move. Why does that person move like that? Why does Doc move like he moved? You know what I mean? Doc is cold,
Mm. Mm.
but he telling his story when he dancing. He's from somewhere. He's from here. So if you watch closely, he's telling you something about himself. When you watch Donnie, he's telling you something about himself. And most of these guys and most of us came from the ground up. I'm not trying to tell who they are,
Mm-hmm.
but if you come to Chicago, you'll understand why we move like we move.
Mm.
So, not saying you, but I'm saying a person from wherever they are from New York to California, everywhere in between. If you come here, you will understand the dance much more. Get a better understanding of the dance because you'll be right where it came from and you'll understand the energy of the dance.
I just want you to tap in on one topic. Talk to me about rhythm within the dance, within your dance,
Uh,
within how you was introduced to Chicago Step.
okay. The rhythm of the dance that I do, that's labeled as high stepping, right? The rhythm is different than that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is the rhythm, but we're on another beat. It's syncopated. I don't know if you know if you play an instrument, but
Mm-hmm.
it's some of it is it's on the count, it's on the beat, but it's playing with the beat. We
Mm.
between the beat. We all in there and it all matches the music. So the rhythm is very important, whether you're doing high stepping, freestyle, whatever it is, but each one has a rhythm to it. You just have to make sure that you either playing with those beats or on those beats. So the rhythm is everything because it's a dance. At the end of the
Mm.
day, it's a dance, and dance is about rhythm. So it's important to a person who's coming into stepping to uh, listen to the music, dance to the music. Don't dance to the count. The count is a part of the music because it's telling you which foot to be on in the song. If it's the odd numbers, it's your left foot. If it's the even numbers, it's your right foot until you start advancing. Then you can switch things up. Talking about that follow side.
Mm-hmm.
That odd number is your left foot. The even number
Mm-hmm.
is your right foot. So you got to put it down on that beat. So the rhythm is key. It's
Mm.
very key. Dance to that drum. Dance to that. Hit that snare. That pop, 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 pop. Yeah, you can't miss. Can't miss. But just find the drum because the drum is giving you the rhythm. The drum, and I don't know if you can see it, but I play the bass.
Oh,
The
nice.
the drum and the bass is the rhythm section. So if you dance to those two instruments, you can't miss. You can
Mm.
hear what the beat. You can hear the rhythm of the song if you can hear the drum and the bass. Everything else is embellishment. It's the harmony. Um, yes, the harmony and the melody. But that bass and that drum that's where the rhythm is. And if you can hear that clearly, you can dance to it.
Mm.
You just got to lean in and do your dance to that drum and that bass. and that's the rhythm of the dance.
Let's talk about how we as leads should dance with the follower, and what is that relationship like within the culture of Chicago Steppin, within your dance, and within the introduction to new people into on this journey.
Well, the, for those who are being coming into this dance who are new, right? The, the lead to the follow and vice versa have to dance together. It's a partner dance. So it's not something that she's doing one thing and you're doing, or the lead is doing another. You're doing this dance together. That's what I would ask somebody to keep in mind. The difficulty factor in the man learning to lead and the woman learning to follow is the disparity of the number of women in the class to men, right? So most of the classes are spent, I think, I can talk from my experience from teaching a class of showing the women things because they are there and they predominate, and then showing the man basically what I'm showing her. And this is, it's really what they're not holding hands. They're just doing these drills together. So the leading and following is not keyed in on, not focused on like that. But at some point, the man and the woman have to learn to dance together and put these moves together. But it has to start from the start. And that's where that lead and that follow is established at the start. Um, in my dance, the follow, I mean, it's everything. The follow and the lead is everything. And if I have a sister who follows well, I can do more. But if I have a sister who is new to the dance and maybe is not doing the things that I'm used to my partner doing or my wife doing, then I have to tone my dance down. And I would tell any brother out there, dance to the level of your partner, dance to her level. But if you don't know how to find her level, like I said, when I start off, I'm checking temperature when I start off to tell me how far I can go. So the men have to learn how to dance with their partner and check the temperature as far as feeling what you can give her, and not try to give her every move in the book that we just learned in class that week. Just until you find a sister who can really handle that, then you give her the business.
Mm.
So I hope I answered that, but that lead
Mm.
and that follow, that is the dance. That is the dance. And I had to learn how to just, calm it down after I learned a bunch of combinations, because that
Mm.
is excellent at combinations.
Mm.
So, I mean, I was right up under him. So I learned a lot of his combinations, and I learned from going to the East of the Rhine which ones I could give him and which ones I couldn't. So yeah.
How important is it for beginners to practice their basic patterns, and how often should they practice their basic patterns?
That's a great question. There's a man who was a radio personality here in Chicago named Herb Kent. Herb Kent used to do a show. I forgot the name of it. I think it was Stepping at Club 7 or something like that. But he would in the show saying that stepping is not just a dance, it's a way of life.
Mm.
So you ask how often should a person, I don't like calling them beginners, but somebody coming in and just now learning this dance, you should practice all the time. Every free minute you get. If this is what if you want to learn this dance, practice every chance you get, every free minute you get. Practice. Practice your basic footwork pattern on the lead side and the follow side. Practice. Wake up out there. You going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, hit a few. You going in the kitchen, hit a few. Turn some music on. Just do a few a few basics up and back, and just bake that in, because it's only going to pay off. It's going to pay off. You're planting seeds when you practice. It's going to come up if you nurture your dance. It's gonna bear fruit.
Now, before we end this interview, just share anything that's on your heart that you want to share with the community I'm trying to build in New Jersey.
Hmm. Well, the one thing that I would like to just get over is, just remember, it's a dance. It's supposed to be fun. Is it hard to learn? At sometimes, yeah. Some of the things that some of the things that we're trying to learn can be difficult. They're easy for those of us who've done them 1,000 times. But for those of us who are brand new, you got to deal with your feet hurting. That's going to happen. You got to deal with a lot coming into learning something. There's a difficulty factor attached. And you just got to get past, we have to get past those difficulty factors to get to the other side. And the other side is that dance that you want, that we want. It's over there. It's on the other side of your feet hurting. It's on the other side of spending money in classes. Because really, it's not spending, it's really investing money. If they come into your class, that they're making an investment in themselves to get what it is that you have. So I would just say, be consistent, and just know that uh, no time, there's no clock on this as to when you should leave a class. There was no clock telling anybody when to come, so there's no clock on when to leave the class. Many of us didn't know we was going to be in the class, but life got us there, and we'll know when it's time to make an exit or to start contributing in the class as a helper or an assistant. But just stay the course and know that the dance that you want is on the other side of time, the time that you put in.
Um, so the very last thing I want you to do, just to end this interview,
Hmm.
is to say the names of any lost steppers uh, that are not on this journey with us no more. That's on a different journey out of the physical.
Oh yeah,
And I'm gonna start it off with you. We called her Christy Love. Her name was Cheryl Tyler.
yeah. She
Yeah,
came to me and took a private here at my home. Yeah,
yeah,
God be pleased with her.
yeah. That was one of my strong sisters. She was one of my strongest steppers.
I looked on your page yesterday and I saw a picture of you, and she was at your feet.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
sister.
yeah, she's a great sister. Great.
That was my sister. Yeah.
Um, mm, mm, mm. Well, someone who comes to mind is a brother named Dre, and that was Sheila Watkins' husband. She's the sister
Mm,
who does the set called The Get Down here in Chicago.
mm,
And he was a cold brother. And I remember I would always go to the East of the Rhine on Friday, and I saw him in there one night, and I didn't know who he was, but he was killing it, him and
mm,
Sheila.
mm,
And I didn't know they were married. So I went to Donnie that Saturday morning in class. I said, Donnie, I saw this little guy up in the East of the Rhine last night. Man, he was killing it. And I was describing how he was moving. Donnie said, that's Silk. That's Silk. That's Drake. That's Drake. So I could go to Donnie and describe anybody how they were moving, and he could tell me who they were. So he and Donnie were very close.
mm,
He was very close. And he started coming to Donnie's class and showing me some things, and he was cold. And when we
mm,
would be out at the East of the Rhine, he would be out there dancing, and he would hand the sister off to me, take her,
mm.
get her. And he would bring, yeah, may God be pleased with that brother.
Mm. Another gentleman, his name was Tyrone. He was working with one of my new students, and he got lost driving from a location. I don't know if it was from a set, but I think his name was Tyrone Frazier. I
Mm,
think his name was Tyrone Frazier. But on his way to a different journey, he made a stop at everybody's event.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't know what's on a lot of the participants' heart and mind.
Yeah.
And then as you hear them in the post, you hear about them, they're like, what happened in the post, then it's like I see what their journey was in those different moments to touch everybody's hand
Yeah.
because of their time, the time frame that they had in the physical.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to search my memory, brother. Um, there's so many that have left here, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Want to single anyone else out right now because I don't
Okay.
want to leave anybody else out. You know what I
Respect.
mean? Because
Respect.
there's some cold guys that I met, cold, and they would drop little things in my ear and tell me things, brother. Because you got to be well on the set. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
listen, married brothers, be well on the set. Somebody got to pull our coat, and I
Yeah.
had brothers pulling my coat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, letting me know. But one of the brothers who did, he made his transition. You know, they would tell me, "Hey, you know, you married." You
There
know what
you
I mean?
go.
And
There you
remember
go.
that. You know,
Word up.
these are cold guys who may have, they pulled my coat, and I thank
Right.
God and for having had met them. And I don't want to say know them because
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
acquainted with them. I just knew their name and I knew their dance. And
Word.
that's all I knew of them, But these men that I know, and some of the sisters that I met who transitioned, and like I said, I
Mm.
don't want to mention names because I don't want to leave anyone out,
Yeah. Definitely.
But I just had to say, Dre, that brother, he was cold, man, and he had
Now,
his personality was. That's the thing about steppers, just these huge
yeah.
personalities,
Yeah. Yeah. Larger than life.
characteristics. Yeah.
Larger than life. Now, my wife had a question. I'm just going to try to translate it as best I can. She might be on a phone call right now.
Hmm.
Did you ever live in New Jersey?
No.
Okay, because
No.
it's she grew up in the nation,
Hmm.
and her mom's was a pillar within the nation, and she was known for her cooking. And
Hmm.
they were from Newark. So, at any point, did you pass through Newark, New Jersey, for a period of time?
No. No.
Okay, okay. So I'll
No.
definitely relay that to her because she was your name I don't know if it's a common name within the nation.
What,
Uh,
Carrie Muhammad?
yeah, I know Muhammad is very common.
Right. But Carrie is that name there's not a lot of us.
Okay,
There's
okay.
some out there, but there's not a lot of us. But
Word.
well, offline, we'll talk about how she
Okay.
may be familiar with me.
Okay, now I'm gonna stop recording right now